I never thought my life would unravel in the middle of a Walmart parking lot in Columbus, Ohio, on a sticky July afternoon in 1998. There I was tangled up in the front seat of my beat-up Toyota with Ryan, my boyfriend of 4 months, when the flashlight beam cut through the window like a guillotine. "What in the heck are you two doing?" A voice barked, gruff, judgmental, and way too familiar. It was Sheriff Danvers, the same guy who'd given me a speeding ticket last year and probably still remembered me as that quiet kid from Lincoln High. My stomach dropped. Ryan froze, his hand still on my thigh, and I knew right then we were toast. "Get out of the car, both of you," Danvers ordered, his tone dripping with disgust. We scrambled to fix our clothes, my heart hammering as I stepped onto the asphalt. The parking lot was mostly empty, but a few nosy shoppers lingered nearby, whispering. "This ain't the place for whatever this is," he said, waving his flashlight like a sermon pointer. "You're lucky I don't haul you in for public indecency." I wanted to argue, it's my car, my life, but the words stuck in my throat. Ryan muttered something about heading home, and Danvers let us go with a warning, but not before adding, "Folks around here won't stand for this, Jake. You know that." Driving away, I couldn't look at Ryan. The silence between us was suffocating. "We've got to be more careful," he finally said, his voice tight. Careful? I'd spent my whole life being careful, hiding who I was in this suffocating little city where everyone knew everyone's business. I was 23, stuck working at the auto parts store, living in a duplex with my older sister, Lisa, who had no clue about Ryan. Or at least, I thought she didn't. When I got home, Lisa was on the couch, flipping through a magazine. "You're late," she said without looking up. "Mom called. She's freaking out about some protest downtown tomorrow. Something about abortion clinics." I nodded, barely listening. Pro-life versus pro-choice was a hot topic in Columbus, and Mom was firmly on the life side, always dragging us to church rallies. I never told her I leaned the other way. Too many secrets to juggle already. I headed to my room and collapsed on the bed, replaying the parking lot fiasco. Ryan and I had met at a friend's basement movie night, our little underground crew of misfits who didn't fit the Midwest mold. He was bold, charming, the kind of guy who made my pulse race just by smiling. We've been sneaking around ever since, stealing moments where we could. But tonight proved it. No matter how careful we were, this town had eyes everywhere. The next day at work, I was restocking shelves when my coworker, Malik, cornered me. "Heard about you and some guy in the parking lot," he said, smirking. News traveled fast. Malik was cool, black, outspoken, always calling out the old white guys who gave him grief at the store. Sheriff gave me a hard time too once, just for walking home late. Different reasons, same crap. I laughed bitter. Racism and homophobia, two sides of the same coin here. Malik didn't care I was gay, but he warned me. "Watch your back, man. People love to talk." He wasn't wrong. By lunch, my boss, Mr. Grayson, pulled me aside. "I don't care what you do on your own time, Jake, but keep it out of sight. Customers are complaining about tax dollars wasted on sheriff calls." Taxation debates were big around here. Folks hated government spending, especially if they thought it went to undesirables like me or Malik. I nodded, humiliated, wondering how long I could keep this up. That night, Lisa cornered me in the kitchen. "What's going on with you? You've been weird lately." I shrugged, but she pressed. "Is it a girl? A guy?" My breath caught. She'd never asked that before. "Just drop it," I snapped, storming off. But her words lingered. Could she handle the truth? Mom and Dad wouldn't. They'd probably disown me, quoting Leviticus while crying about family values. I thought back to high school, when I'd first noticed guys instead of girls. There was this wrestler, Kyle, with a jawline that could cut glass. I'd stare at him in gym class, terrified someone would notice. Once I tried talking to the school counselor about it. "Just a phase," she'd said, patting my hand. It wasn't. By 17, I knew it was real, but I'd buried it deep, dated a cheerleader, played straight for survival. Now, lying in bed, I felt the walls closing in. Ryan wanted us to be braver. Talked about moving to San Francisco, where same-sex marriage was a dream people fought for, not a sin to be shunned. But leaving meant abandoning Lisa, who was struggling with her own mess. an ex who'd left her pregnant last year. She'd kept the baby, despite mom's pro-life pressure, but it wasn't easy. Abortion debates hit close to home, and I couldn't abandon her to face them alone. Then there was Malik dealing with his own battles. Store customers muttering about affirmative action hires like he didn't earn his spot. In downtown, free speech fights were brewing. Some jerk was planning a hate speech rally, claiming his rights trumped everyone else's peace. Gender stuff was bubbling up too. Rumors about a trans kid at the high school getting hassled over bathrooms. Columbus wasn't ready for any of it, and neither was I. I stared at the ceiling, trapped between who I was and where I lived. Something had to break. Me, Ryan, this town. I just didn't know what would give first. It had been a week since the parking lot incident, and I still couldn't shake the feeling that everyone was watching me. At work, Mr. Grayson kept giving me these side-eye glances, like he was waiting for me to slip up again. Malik, bless him, tried to keep things light. "Man, your wound tighter than a drum," he said one afternoon as we were stacking brake pads. "You need to chill before you snap." "Easy for you to say," I muttered. "You're not the one everyone's whispering about." Malik shrugged. "Nah, they whisper about me too. Just different reasons." He had a point. Columbus wasn't exactly a beacon of progress, and being a black man in a mostly white town came with its own set of challenges. But at least Malik could be himself without risking everything. Me, I was walking a tightrope, and one wrong step could send me plummeting. That night, Ryan came over to my place. Lisa was out with her baby, visiting our parents, so we had the duplex to ourselves. We sat on the couch, beers in hand, trying to act normal. But the tension was thick enough to cut with a knife. "We can't keep doing this," Ryan said, his voice low, "sneaking around like we're criminals. It's not fair to either of us." I took a long swig of my beer, avoiding his gaze. "What do you want me to do, Ree? Come out to the whole town? You know what that would mean." He sighed, running a hand through his dark hair. "I know, but maybe we could. I don't know, move somewhere else. Somewhere we don't have to hide." "Like where?" "San Francisco." I scoffed. "We're not exactly rolling in cash, and I can't leave Lisa." "Not now." Ryan's eyes softened. "I get it. She's your family. But Jake, you're my family too. And I can't keep pretending we're just friends." His words hit me hard. I loved Ryan more than I'd ever loved anyone. But the thought of losing my sister, my parents, my job, it terrified me. "Give me time," I pleaded. "I'll figure something out." But time wasn't on my side. The next day, Lisa confronted me in the kitchen. "Jake, we need to talk." My heart sank. "About what?" She crossed her arms, her expression unreadable. "About you and Ryan. I saw you two last night. Through the window." I felt the blood drain from my face. "Lisa, I don't," she cut me off. "Don't lie to me. I'm not blind, and I'm not stupid. How long has this been going on?" I swallowed hard. "For months." She nodded, processing. "And you didn't tell me because I was scared," I admitted. "Scared of what you'd think, what Mom and Dad would do. Scared of losing you." Lisa's eyes filled with tears. "You're my brother, Jake. I love you no matter what. But you should have trusted me." Relief washed over me, but it was short-lived. "What about Mom and Dad? They'll never accept this." She sighed. "I don't know. They're set in their ways. But maybe they'll surprise you. People can change." I wanted to believe her, but deep down, I knew the truth. Our parents were devout, conservative, and vocal about their beliefs. They'd marched against abortion, railed against affirmative action, and scoffed at the idea of same-sex marriage. To them, I was an abomination. But Lisa's acceptance was a start. "Thanks, sis," I said, pulling her into a hug. "I'm sorry I didn't tell you sooner." She hugged me back tightly. "Just promise me you'll be careful. This town, it's not ready for you yet." She was right. The hate speech rally was scheduled for the weekend, and tensions were high. The organizer, some out-of-town bigot named Carl Jenkins, was planning to spew his venom about traditional values and the gay agenda. It made my skin crawl. Malik, I talked about it at work. "You going to that rally?" he asked, half joking. "No, it'll be but I'm worried about what might happen. Things could get ugly." He nodded. "Yeah, I've seen it before. People get riled up, and suddenly, it's open season on anyone who doesn't fit their mold." I thought about Ryan about Lisa, about the trans kid at the high school who'd been in the news lately. We were all targets in our own way. Maybe we should do something, I suggested. Counter-protest or something. Malik raised an eyebrow. You? Mr. Keep It Hidden. I shrugged. Maybe it's time to stop hiding. He grinned. Now you're talking. Let's see what we can do. That evening, I met up with Ryan and told him about my conversation with Lisa. He was relieved, but cautious. So, she's okay with us? Yeah, I said. She's on our side. He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. That's one down. But what about the rest of the world? I didn't have an answer for that. Instead, I kissed him, hoping to convey everything I couldn't put into words. The next day, I overheard Mr. Grayson talking to a customer about the rally. About time someone stood up for real American values, he said. All this PC nonsense is ruining the country. I bit my tongue, focusing on my work. But inside, I was seething. Real American values? What did that even mean? Denying people their rights? Hating anyone who was different? Malik must have noticed my tension because he nudged me. Don't let him get to you. He's just an old fool. But it wasn't just Grayson. It was the whole town, the whole system. And I was tired of pretending it didn't affect me. That night, I made a decision. I was going to the rally, not to support it, but to stand against it. To show that I wouldn't be silenced. I told Ryan, and to my surprise, he agreed to come with me. We'll face it together, he said. Lisa offered to watch the baby and stay home. Be safe, she warned, and call me if anything happens. As we drove to the rally site, my stomach was in knots. This was it. The moment of truth. I was about to step out of the shadows and into the light. Consequences be damned. But as we approached the crowd, I saw something that made my blood run cold. Standing at the edge of the gathering, holding a sign that read, "God hates fags," was my father. My heart stopped. There, standing at the edge of the rally with a sign that screamed, "God hates fags," was my father. His face was stern, his grip on the sign firm, like he was holding a shield in some holy war. I froze, Ryan's hand tightening around mine as we both stared in disbelief. Jake, is that? Ryan started, but I couldn't hear him over the roar in my head. Everything I'd feared was staring me in the face, literally. My father, the man who'd taught me how to ride a bike and fix a carburetor, was now publicly declaring his hatred for people like me. I wanted to run, to disappear into the crowd, but my feet wouldn't move. Then, as if sensing my gaze, Dad turned and locked eyes with me. His expression shifted from righteous anger to confusion, then something worse, disappointment. He lowered the sign slightly, his mouth opening like he wanted to say something, but no words came out. Jake, Ryan whispered, tugging at my arm. We should go. But I couldn't. Not yet. This was the moment I'd been dreading, and now that it was here, I had to face it. I took a deep breath and walked toward my father, each step feeling like a mile. Dad, I said, my voice barely audible over the rally's noise. He blinked, still processing. What are you doing here, son? I could ask you the same thing. I shot back, gesturing to his sign. He glanced down at it, then back at me. I'm standing up for what's right. This country's going to hell, and someone's got to say it. By hating people like me? The words slipped out before I could stop them. Dad's eyes widened. What do you mean, people like you? I swallowed hard. This wasn't how I'd planned to come out, but there was no turning back now. I'm gay, Dad. I've been seeing Ryan for months. The color drained from his face. He looked at Ryan, then back at me, his mouth working but no sound coming out. Finally, he managed, "What? Gay?" I repeated, louder this time, and I'm not ashamed of it. The rally around us seemed to fade into the background as we stood there, locked in a silent standoff. Then, Dad's face hardened. This is that liberal brainwashing, isn't it? All that talk about rights and equality. It's unnatural, Jake. You know that. No, I don't, I said, my voice shaking. What's unnatural is hating your own son for who he loves. He flinched, but didn't back down. I don't hate you, Jake. I hate what you're choosing to be. Choosing. I laughed bitterly. You think I chose this? To be ostracized, to be afraid, every day? If I had a choice, don't you think I'd pick the easy path? Dad shook his head. You need help, son. Counseling, church, something to set you straight. I felt Ryan step closer, his presence a silent support. I don't need fixing, Dad. I need you to accept me. But I could see it in his eyes. He wasn't ready for that. Maybe he never would be. The rally's organizer, Carl Jenkins, started shouting into a megaphone, spewing venom about the gay agenda and moral decay. The crowd cheered, and Dad's gaze flickered back to the stage, torn between his beliefs and his son. I can't do this here, he muttered, turning away. We'll talk later. He walked off, rejoining the rally, leaving me standing there with a hollow ache in my chest. Ryan wrapped an arm around me. I'm sorry, Jake. I nodded, too numb to speak. We moved to the edge of the crowd, where a small group of counter-protesters had gathered. Among them was a familiar face. Malik, holding a sign that read, "Love is love." He waved us over. "Glad you made it," he said, though his smile faded when he saw my expression. "You okay?" "Not really," I admitted. "Just had a run-in with my dad." Malik winced. "Ouch. That's rough." "Yeah." I glanced around at the counter-protesters, mostly young people, a few older allies, and one person who caught my eye. They were dressed in a bright, defiant outfit, holding a sign that said, "Trans rights are human rights." I'd heard about the trans kid at the high school, but this wasn't a kid. It was someone closer to my age, maybe early 20s with a determined look on their face. "Who's that?" I asked Malik. "Oh, that's Alex. They're non-binary, been fighting for gender-neutral bathrooms at the community college. Got a lot of flack for it, but they're tough." I admired their courage. It took guts to stand out like that in a town like ours. As if sensing my gaze, Alex turned and gave me a small nod, a silent acknowledgement of shared struggle. The rally grew louder, with Jenkins ranting about protecting children and family values. It was the same old rhetoric, but it stung more now, knowing my own father was part of it. Then, things took a turn. A group of masked individuals, probably from out of town, started shouting back, calling Jenkins a bigot and worse. The tension escalated quickly, and before I knew it, fists were flying. "Shoot," Malik muttered. "This is going to get ugly." I grabbed Ryan's hand. "We need to get out of here." But as we tried to leave, a burly guy from the rally side shoved Malik, sending him stumbling. "Watch it, freak," the guy sneered. Without thinking, I stepped between them. "Back off," I said, my voice steady despite the fear coursing through me. The guy laughed. "What are you going to do, pretty boy?" Ryan and Alex joined me, forming a small barrier. "Leave him alone," Ryan said firmly. The guy looked us over, then spat on the ground. "Bunch of degenerates." But he backed away, rejoining his group. Malik dusted himself off. "Thanks, man. That could have been bad." I nodded, still shaken. The rally was descending into chaos, with police sirens wailing in the distance. We decided to bail before things got worse. Back at the duplex, Lisa was waiting, her face pale. I saw the news. "Are you okay?" "Yeah," I said, though I wasn't sure it was true. "It was intense." She hugged me tightly. "I'm proud of you for going, but please be careful." I hugged her back, grateful for her support. Later, as Ryan and I lay in bed, I couldn't stop replaying the day's events. "I don't know if I can stay here," I whispered into the darkness. Ryan turned to me. "Then let's leave. We can go to Chicago or New York, somewhere we could be ourselves." The idea was tempting, but I thought of Lisa, of Malik, of Alex, and the others fighting their own battles. "I can't abandon them," I said. "Not yet." Ryan sighed. "I know, but we can't keep living like this either." He was right. Something had to change. Maybe it was time to start pushing back, to make this town face its demons. Or maybe it was time to walk away and find a place where we didn't have to fight every day. I didn't have the answers yet, but one thing was clear. I couldn't hide anymore. The rally had forced me out of the shadows, and now there was no going back. The morning after the rally, I woke up to the smell of coffee and the sound of the TV blaring in the living room. Ryan was already up, sitting on the couch with a mug in hand, his eyes glued to the screen. "What's going on?" I asked, rubbing the sleep from my eyes. "Local news is covering the rally," he said, his voice tight. "It's not great." I sat down next to him, and together we watched as the reporter interviewed people from both sides. There were clips of Jenkins ranting counter-protesters chanting, and then, briefly, a shot of me and my father staring each other down. "Oh, great," I muttered. "Now everyone knows." Ryan squeezed my hand. "Maybe it's not all bad. Look, they're interviewing Alex too." Sure enough, Alex was on screen, talking passionately about the need for acceptance and equality. They looked confident, unwavering, and I felt a surge of admiration. But then the reporter cut to a local resident, an older woman, who said, "I just think it's a shame how these people are trying to force their lifestyle on us. We have traditional values here." I groaned. "Here we go." Ryan turned off the TV. "Let's not watch this. It's just going to upset you." He was right, but I couldn't help feeling exposed, like the whole town was judging me. And in a way, they were. At work, it was worse. As soon as I walked in, I could feel the stares. "Mister." Grayson gave me a curt nod, but said nothing. Malik, on the other hand, grinned and clapped me on the back. "You made the news, man. You're famous." I forced a smile. Yeah, lucky me. But not everyone was as supportive. Later that morning, a customer came in, a burly guy with a trucker hat, and as I was ringing up his purchase, he leaned in and said, "Saw you on TV last night. You one of them queers." I froze, my hand hovering over the cash register. Before I could respond, Malik stepped in. "Is there a problem here?" he asked, his tone sharp. The guy glanced at Malik, then back at me. "Just asking a question." "Well, maybe you should mind your own business," Malik said. "Unless you want to take it outside." The guy huffed but backed down, taking his change and leaving without another word. "Thanks," I said to Malik, my heart still racing. "No problem. Can't let these idiots get away with that crap." I appreciated his support, but I knew it was only a matter of time before something worse happened. This town wasn't going to change overnight, and I was right in the crosshairs. That evening, Lisa pulled me aside. "Mom called. She wants us to come over for dinner tomorrow night. Said it's important." My stomach dropped. "Did she say what it's about?" Lisa shook her head. "No, but I think it's about you." "And Dad." I sighed. "Great. Just what I need. You don't have to go," she said. "But maybe it's a chance to clear the air. Or make things worse," I muttered. Lisa put a hand on my arm. "I'll be there with you. And if it gets too bad, we can leave." I nodded, grateful for her support. "Okay, I'll go." Later, Ryan and I decided to attend a meeting of a local LGBTQ+ support group that Alex had mentioned at the rally. We were both nervous, but we figured it couldn't hurt to meet others who were going through similar struggles. The meeting was held in the basement of a community center, and when we arrived, we were greeted by a diverse group of people. There was Alex, who gave us a warm smile, and several others, including an older gay couple, a young lesbian woman, and a trans man named Sam. We went around the room, introducing ourselves and sharing a bit about our experiences. When it was my turn, I hesitated, then said, "I'm Jake, and I guess I'm here because I'm tired of hiding who I am. But I'm also scared of what that means in this town." There were nods of understanding, and then Sam spoke up. "I get it. I came out as trans last year, and it's been challenging. But I've also found that there are more allies here than you'd think. It's not all bad." An older man, probably in his 60s, chimed in. "I've lived here my whole life. Things have changed, slowly but surely. When I was your age, we couldn't even dream of having a group like this." His words gave me hope, but also a sense of the long road ahead. After the meeting, Ryan and I talked to a few people, exchanging numbers and promises to stay in touch. As we were leaving, my phone buzzed. It was a voicemail from my mother. "Jake, honey, please come to dinner tomorrow. We need to talk about everything. Your father, he's struggling, but he loves you. We both do. Please." I played the message for Ryan, who looked at me with concern. "What are you going to do?" "I guess I'm going to dinner," I said, though the thought filled me with dread. He took my hand. "We'll get through this together." I hoped he was right, but as I lay in bed that night, staring at the ceiling, I knew that tomorrow's dinner would be a turning point. Whether it would bring us closer or tear us apart, I couldn't say. But I was done running from the truth. It was time to face the fire once and for all. The drive to my parents' house felt like a march to the gallows. Lisa sat beside me, her hands fidgeting in her lap, while I gripped the steering wheel so tight my knuckles turned white. We didn't speak. There wasn't much to say. We both knew this dinner could either mend fences or burn bridges. When we pulled into the driveway, the house looked the same as always. Neat lawn, American flag waving proudly, and Mom's geraniums blooming by the porch. But inside, I knew things were far from normal. Mom greeted us at the door, her smile tight. "Come in, dinner's almost ready." She hugged Lisa, then me, but it felt stiff like she was holding back. Dad was in the living room, sitting in his recliner, eyes fixed on the TV. He didn't look up when we entered. "Hey, Dad," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. He grunted in response, still not meeting my gaze. The tension was suffocating. We sat down to eat roast chicken, mashed potatoes, green beans, the kind of meal Mom made when she wanted to pretend everything was fine. But the silence was deafening, broken only by the clink of silverware. Finally, Dad cleared his throat. "So, Jake, about the other day at the rally." "Here it comes." I braced myself. "I don't understand how you could be part of that lifestyle," he said, his voice low but firm. "We raised you better than that." I set my fork down, my appetite gone. "It's not a lifestyle, Dad. It's who I am." He shook his head. "It's a choice, son. A bad one. You're confused, led astray by all this liberal nonsense." "Led astray?" I laughed, though there was no humor in it. "I've known I was gay since I was a kid. It's not something I chose. It's something I am." Mom reached across the table, her eyes pleading. "Jake, honey, maybe you just need some guidance. Pastor Jim could help. Or maybe counseling. I don't need fixing," I snapped. "I need you to accept me." Dad slammed his hand on the table, making us all jump. "Accept you? How can I accept something that goes against everything I believe in? It's unnatural, Jake. It's wrong." Lisa, who'd been quiet until now, spoke up. "Dad, Jake's your son. He's still the same person he's always been. Why can't you see that?" Dad turned to her, his face red. "Don't you start, Lisa. You've got your own mess to deal with, raising a baby on your own. Maybe if you'd made better choices, we wouldn't be in this situation." Lisa's eyes filled with tears. "That's not fair. I'm doing the best I can. And I'm trying to save this family," Dad shot back. "But it feels like I'm the only one who cares about what's right." I couldn't take it anymore. "What's right? Hating your own son? Is that what your God teaches you?" Dad stood up, his chair scraping against the floor. "Don't you dare bring God into this. You're the one who's lost his way." I stood too, my heart pounding. "No, Dad, you're the one who's lost. If you can't love me for who I am, then maybe I don't belong here." Mom gasped. "Jake, please," but I was already heading for the door. "I'm done," I said, my voice breaking. "I can't do this." Lisa followed me out, her face streaked with tears. "Jake, wait." I turned to her. "I'm sorry, Lise. I can't stay. Not like this." She nodded, understanding. "I'll talk to them. Maybe they'll come around." But I wasn't holding my breath. Back at the duplex, Ryan was waiting. He took one look at my face and pulled me into a hug. "That bad, huh?" "Worse," I muttered into his shoulder. We sat on the porch, the night air cool against my skin. I told him everything. The argument, Dad's words, Lisa's tears. Ryan listened quietly, his hand resting on my knee. "I'm so sorry, Jake," he said when I finished. "No one should have to go through that." I leaned into him, exhausted. I don't know what to do. Part of me wants to leave, start over somewhere new. But another part feels like I can't give up on them. Ryan sighed. "I get it. They're your family. But you can't sacrifice your happiness for them. Not if they won't meet you halfway." He was right, but it didn't make the decision any easier. "Maybe we could move to Chicago," I said, half joking. "I hear it's more accepting there." Ryan smiled. "I'd go anywhere with you, but only if you're sure." I wasn't sure of anything anymore. The town, my family, my future. It all felt like quicksand, pulling me under. The next day, I was back at work, trying to focus on restocking shelves when Malik came over. "Hey man, you hear about the next rally?" I frowned. "Another one?" "Yeah, Jenkins is planning a follow-up. Says he's bringing in some big-name speaker to defend traditional values. It's set for next weekend." My stomach churned. "Great, just what we need." Malik lowered his voice. "Some of us are thinking about organizing a counter-protest. Something bigger this time. You in?" I hesitated. After the dinner disaster, I wasn't sure I had the energy for another fight. But then I thought of Alex, of Sam, of all the others who were standing up for themselves. If they could do it, so could I. Yeah, I said. I'm in. Malik grinned. That's my boy. We're meeting at the community center tonight to plan. That evening, I joined the group at the center. Alex was there along with Sam, the older gay couple, and a few new faces. We brainstormed ideas, peaceful protests, petitions, maybe even a pride event. But as we talked, I couldn't shake the feeling that something bad was coming. Jenkins wasn't going to back down, and neither were his supporters. The town was a powder keg, and one wrong move could set it off. Later that night, as Ryan and I walked home, I noticed a piece of paper tucked under my windshield wiper. I pulled it out, unfolding it with a sense of dread. Scrawled in angry red letters were the words, "Leave town or else." I showed it to Ryan, my hand shaking. "What the hell is this?" He crumpled the note, his face grim. "A threat. Someone's trying to scare you." "Well, it's working," I admitted. Ryan took my hand. "We can't let them win, Jake. We have to keep fighting." But as I looked in his eyes, I wondered how much more I could take. The rally, the dinner, now this, my world was unraveling and I didn't know how to stop it. That night, I lay awake, staring at the ceiling. The note's words echoed in my mind. Leave town or else. Part of me wanted to run, to escape this place and never look back. But another part refused to be bullied into silence. I didn't know what the future held, but I knew one thing. I wasn't going down without a fight. The note was still crumpled in my pocket when I woke up the next morning, its words seared into my brain. Leave town or else. I'd barely slept, tossing and turning as fear and anger wrestled for control. By the time the sun crept through the blinds, I made up my mind I wasn't running. Ryan was already in the kitchen, making coffee. He looked up when I walked in, his eyes shadowed with worry. "You okay?" I shook my head. "Not really, but I've decided something." He handed me a mug, his brow furrowed. "What's that?" "I'm not leaving," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. "This is my home, too. I'm done letting them scare me." Ryan's face softened, a mix of pride and concern. "I'm with you, Jake, but we need to be smart about this. Whoever left that note isn't playing around." I nodded. "I know. That's why we need to stick together. Me, you, Lisa, the group. We're stronger as a team." He pulled me into a hug, and for a moment, I let myself believe everything would be okay. But deep down, I knew the fight was just beginning. Later that day, we met with the support group at the community center. Alex was there along with Sam, Malik, and a handful of others. The room buzzed with nervous energy as we discussed the upcoming rally. "We need to make a statement," Alex said, their voice firm. "Something that shows we're not backing down." Sam nodded. "I've been talking to some folks at the college. They're willing to join us, maybe even get the local news involved." Malik leaned forward. "That's a good idea. The more visibility we have, the harder it'll be for Jenkins and his crew to push us around." I listened, my mind racing. Visibility was a double-edged sword. It could protect us, but it could also make us bigger targets. Still, I knew we had to take the risk. What if we organize a peaceful march? I suggested. Start at the park, end at the rally site. Show them we're not afraid. Alex grinned. "I like it. We can make signs, chant the whole 9 yards." We spent the next hour planning logistics, assigning tasks, and reaching out to allies. By the time we left, I felt a flicker of hope. Maybe, just maybe, we could turn the tide. But that hope was short-lived. When I got home, there was another note taped to my door. This one was worse. "Last warning, freak. Next time, we won't be so nice." My hand shook as I showed it to Ryan. "Who the hell is doing this?" He clenched his jaw. "I don't know, but we need to find out. Maybe it's someone from work. Grayson's been giving you a hard time." I thought about it. Grayson was old school, always grumbling about traditional values, but I couldn't see him stooping to threats. Then again, people surprised you. The next day at the auto parts store, I kept my eyes open. Malik was on edge too, watching customers like a hawk. Around noon, a guy came in, burly, tattooed, with a sneer that set my nerves on edge. He browsed the aisles, then approached the counter. "You Jake?" he asked, his voice low. I swallowed. "Yeah, can I help you?" He leaned in, his breath reeking of tobacco. Just wanted to see the face of the guy who's stirring up trouble. You and your little friends better watch your backs. Before I could respond, Malik stepped between us. You got a problem, buddy? The guy smirked. Not yet, but I will if you don't stay out of our way. He left without buying anything, and I let out a breath I didn't know I'd been holding. That was him, I whispered. The one leaving the notes. Malik nodded. Probably. We should tell the sheriff. But I knew that wouldn't help. Sheriff Danvers was part of the old guard, more likely to side with the rally folks than with us. Still, we filed a report just in case. The day of the counter-protest arrived, and my stomach was in knots. Lisa hugged me tight before I left. Be careful, Jake. I mean it. I will. I promised, though I wasn't sure I could keep it. Ryan and I joined the group at the park, where a crowd of about 50 had gathered. It wasn't huge, but it was something. Alex handed out signs, and Sam led a chant. Love is love. Hate is not. We started marching, our voices echoing through the streets. For a while, it felt empowering, like we were making a difference. But as we neared the rally site, I saw the opposition waiting, Jenkins and his supporters, their faces twisted with anger. The two groups faced off, separated by a line of police officers. Jenkins grabbed a megaphone, his voice booming. Look at these degenerates, trying to corrupt our town. We won't stand for it. His followers cheered, waving their signs. I spotted my father among them, his expression unreadable. Our eyes met, and for a second, I thought I saw a flicker of doubt. But then he turned away, and the moment was gone. Suddenly, a scuffle broke out on the edge of the crowd. I saw the tattooed guy from the store shoving Malik, and before I knew it, fists were flying. The police rushed in, but it was chaos. People shouting, pushing, falling. I tried to get to Malik, but someone grabbed my arm, yanking me back. It was the tattooed guy, his face contorted with rage. You should have left when you had the chance, he snarled. He swung at me, and I ducked, but not fast enough. His fist grazed my jaw, sending me stumbling. Ryan appeared out of nowhere, tackling the guy to the ground. They wrestled, and I scrambled to help, but then I heard a sharp crack, a gunshot. The crowd froze, and for a terrifying second, I thought someone had been shot. But it was a warning shot from the sheriff, fired into the air. Everyone disperse. Now, people scattered, and I grabbed Ryan's hand, pulling him away from the fight. We ran, my heart pounding, until we were safely back at the duplex. Inside, Lisa was waiting, her face pale. What happened? I heard there was violence. I collapsed onto the couch, my jaw throbbing. It was a mess, but we're okay. Ryan sat beside me, his knuckles bloody. For now, but this isn't over. He was right. The rally had only deepened the divide, and I knew the threats wouldn't stop. That night, as I lay in bed, I made a decision. I couldn't keep living in fear, waiting for the next attack. It was time to take a stand, once and for all. The next morning, I called a meeting with the group. We need to do something bigger, I said. Something that shows we're not going anywhere. Alex nodded. Like what? I took a deep breath. A pride parade. Right here in town. There was a stunned silence, then Sam grinned. That's bold. I love it. Malik raised an eyebrow. You think the town will allow it? They won't have a choice, I said. We'll make it happen. As we started planning, I felt a surge of determination. This was our home, and we had every right to be here to be ourselves. If they wanted to fight, we'd give them one, but on our terms. But even as I rallied the group, I couldn't shake the fear gnawing at me. The tattooed guy's words echoed in my mind. You should have left when you had the chance. Part of me still wondered if he was right. That night, I sat on the porch with Ryan, the stars bright above us. Do you think we're making a mistake? I asked quietly. He took my hand. I think we're doing what's right. It's not easy, but it's necessary. I leaned into him, drawing strength from his warmth. I just hope it's worth it. It will be, he said, his voice firm. We're not alone, Jake. And that's something. He was right. We had each other, and that was more than I'd ever had before. As I looked out at the quiet street, I knew that whatever came next, we'd face it together. And maybe, just maybe, we'd come out stronger on the other side. The weeks leading up to the Pride Parade were a blur of activity and anxiety. We faced pushback at every turn, permit denials, angry letters to the editor, even a petition to ban the event. But we didn't back down. With each obstacle, our resolve grew stronger. The group rallied, and surprisingly, so did parts of the town. Local businesses donated supplies, allies offered to march with us, and even the sheriff's office, after some persuasion, agreed to provide security. Still, the threats didn't stop. Another note appeared on my doorstep. You're making a mistake. Last chance. I crumpled it and tossed it in the trash. They weren't going to scare me anymore. The night before the parade, I sat on the porch with Ryan, the air thick with summer heat. We were both quiet, lost in our thoughts. You nervous? He asked, breaking the silence. Yeah, I admitted, but also excited, like maybe this is the start of something better. He smiled, leaning his head on my shoulder. It is. No matter what happens tomorrow, we've already won. We're here, we're together, and we're not hiding. I kissed the top of his head, grateful for his steadiness. I couldn't have done this without you. You're stronger than you think, Jake. You always were. The morning of the parade, I woke up to the sound of Lisa bustling in the kitchen. She'd insisted on making breakfast for everyone. Ryan, Malik, Alex, Sam, and a few others who'd crashed at our place. The smell of pancakes and coffee filled the air, a small comfort before the storm. As we ate, Malik raised his glass of orange juice. To us, he said, grinning, the misfits who refused to quit. We clinked glasses, laughter mixing with the tension. But underneath it all, there was a sense of unity, of purpose. We were ready. The parade started at the park, just like we planned. A crowd had gathered, larger than I'd expected. There were families, students, even a few curious onlookers. And, of course, the opposition. Jenkins and his followers stood on the sidelines, holding signs and shouting slurs. But we ignored them, focusing on the march. Alex led the way, carrying a rainbow flag, their face alight with pride. Sam and the older gay couple followed, arm in arm. Malik walked beside me, his sign reading Equality for All. And Ryan was at my side, our hands clasped tight. As we moved through the streets, something incredible happened. People started joining us, first a trickle, then a wave. By the time we reached the town square, our numbers had doubled. It wasn't just the LGBTQ plus community. It was allies, friends, and even strangers who believed in a better future. But then, trouble struck. The tattooed guy from the store appeared, blocking our path with a group of his buddies. You're not welcome here, he snarled, his fists clenched. I stepped forward, my heart pounding. We're not going anywhere. This is our town, too. He laughed, a harsh, ugly sound. You think you can change things? You're just a bunch of freaks. Before I could respond, a voice cut through the tension. They're not freaks. They're my family. I turned, stunned, to see my father pushing through the crowd. His face was pale, his eyes conflicted, but he stood tall. Dad, I whispered, barely believing it. He looked at me, then at the tattooed guy. Leave them alone. They have every right to be here. The guy sneered. You're defending them now? Thought you were on our side. Dad shook his head. I was wrong. I've been wrong about a lot of things. He turned to me, his voice breaking. Jake, I'm sorry. I don't understand everything, but I don't want to lose you. You're my son, and I love you. Tears stung my eyes as I stepped forward and hugged him. It wasn't perfect, and I knew we had a long way to go, but it was a start. The tattooed guy and his crew backed off, muttering curses but unwilling to challenge the growing crowd. The parade continued, and as we reached the square, a cheer went up, a sound of triumph, of hope. That night, we celebrated at the community center. There was music, laughter, and a sense of victory. But for me, the real victory was quieter. I sat with Ryan, Lisa, and my father, who'd stayed for the after-party. We talked, really talked, for the first time in months. It wasn't easy, and there were still awkward moments, but it was progress. Later, as I stood on the balcony, looking out at the town I'd fought so hard to call home, I thought about everything that had happened. The fear, the pain, the losses, but also the love, the strength, the community I'd found. I'd learned that change doesn't happen overnight, but it does happen one step at a time. I'd learned that courage isn't the absence of fear, but the willingness to face it. And most of all, I'd learned that being true to yourself is worth every risk. As I reflect on this journey, I can't help but wonder, if you were in a similar situation, caught between staying true to yourself and risking everything, or hiding who you are to keep the peace, what would you do? How would you find the courage to stand up for yourself and your community, even when the odds seem stacked against you? It's not an easy question, and there's no one right answer. But maybe, just maybe, the act of asking it is the first step toward change.